It's now time for another episode of the Off-Road Toolbox. A Jeepers guide to everything off-road. Powered by Best Price Trailers.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Off-Road Toolbox. I'm Jeff.
I'm Bart.
And this is Rob.
He's hiding back there behind the controls.
Yeah.
So what's up, guys? Anything new and exciting this week?
Well, let's see.
Should we continue with our last week episode?
Oh, you mean the one regarding the vacation home?
Yeah, they need to go back and listen to that one. They haven't heard it already.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to be in so much trouble.
He's turning red.
That's all right. Yeah, you are getting. Oh my God, I can see it. I'm looking at this right now. If you're now, you can see it if you're watching us on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
You can see Bart turn red as we discuss.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
His luscious cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It is.
Yes, it is.
And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to check us out video-wise if you'd like to.
And don't forget to check out bestpricetrailers.com.
Please.
As they sponsor us and help us out, keep this going.
That's right.
It's true.
I could use one of those trailers.
I know you can.
You know, we all could. What am I saying?
Let's just go over and talk to Rob and see what
Yeah, I don't have a place to store it, though. That's
He'd probably let you. He'd probably find a place for you to store.
Yeah. Free?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
So what are we talking about today?
Trying to sell me a trailer. Talking about transmissions, right?
Yes.
No, we're going to say something. We should talk about this real quick.
We can say
tranny, but you cannot type that on social media.
On certain social media platforms, they will.
Tell us the story, Bart. Let's see you turn red.
No,
again.
no. I was posting about
trannies
and how they catch fire. And I said that, especially we had the one up in Northern Beach.
You got to hike the dress up.
During Jeep Beach. True. So there's times where if you don't do things right, your tranny can catch fire. And they flagged it, and there's a picture of a Jeep that caught fire, and it's because transmission got too hot, driving in soft sand, wrong gear, didn't air down. Transmission fluid, the tranny fluid, bubbles up through the dipstick, gets on the exhaust manifold, and catches fire.
Oh, wow.
So,
you can't spell out that word because it's offensive.
It's offensive.
So we had a conversation back and forth and what it was about, and so now I didn't go to Facebook jail. I didn't go to Facebook jail or my business page go to Facebook jail for posting that. But
right.
It's a real thing.
They just warned you.
They just warned me.
So transmissions today.
Yes, transmissions. So here's the question: how do you know if your transmission's going bad?
Well, you're going to feel it. You're going to smell it. You're going to hear it.
And what if it doesn't go into gear? That's the thing. What's the first one? Am I right? The gear?
Usually it's gear slippage.
Gear slippage, okay.
Meaning that you are driving along, it'll shift up or shift down, not at the right time. Or if you go to like a standard transmission, you go to take off and it takes a bit because the clutch is slipping.
Right.
Yes.
So in that sense, it's fluid or wore out parts.
Mm.
Or if you've rode your clutch driving off road, and you got it super hot.
You can smell that.
You can smell that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah.
You know, that's some people don't ride the clutch. Let it out. Go.
So gear slippage would be one of the ways of knowing, and it's just you got to know your vehicle. You got to pay attention to it. Just don't get in it, start it, and go, because you're going to end up with issues. And you can catch small issues in the beginning, and it won't cost you but maybe a pint of fluid or something of that sort. So keep an eye on everything. As you know, last week we talked about overheating. This can also cause overheating because you're working that transmission, and an automatic for the most part.
Yes.
You're running that fluid through the transmission. It's hotter than normal. It's causing that radiator to not be able to keep up with cooling. So
sometimes too, I know that they won't shift. You'll just be stuck in first. It won't shift into second, third.
Failed gear shifts.
Yeah.
Yes, that's another issue. You know, it's like movement from first to third gear or the movement from third to fourth gear on an automatic. It won't shift, and you're like, well, I've got it to the floor, and it's just not doing what it's supposed to do. Something ain't right. And then you start manual shifting it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
So that could be fluid or gears, a modulator. What else can go wrong? The bands can go wrong. So big thing is don't let your transmission fluid get too hot. Like we talked about it over boiling, but once it gets over 200-300 degrees, it starts
You can start kind of smelling it.
Well, you'll smell it, but it'll start some of the parts in the transmission. It'll actually
Melt.
them.
Yes, it will. Because there are plastic pieces in your transmission, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Even in your earlier
Yes.
models, they'd have that. Also, too, is if your fluid's low, you got to remember it's got what they call a torque converter in there, and that torque converter holds transmission fluid, which does a bunch of other things and how it works. But if that fluid is low, it causes everything to not work as well and causes it to heat up, which in turn causes even more issues.
So, and then inside the torque converter are plates. So if you don't get your transmission serviced, what will happen is that fluid gets worn out or gets old.
Yes.
And then you have the plates won't engage properly, which is part of your problem. So sometimes you have to be careful because you'll go like, oh, you need a new transmission, when actually all you need to do is have somebody pull the torque converter, put new fluid in, or put new plates in. Right. And a torque converter is a lot cheaper than a whole transmission rebuild.
I think I know I had an F-150 and I had to replace that, and it was almost $3,000.
Yes,
just for the transmission, not for any labor or anything like that. It was $3,000.
So mine had to be rebuilt. When I bought it, that's what I felt was this, and I said, "Here's all you got to do." But because when I first bought my Jeep, and I got it home like in 2 days, and I felt it, but I luckily had a 30-day warranty on it.
Ooh,
so
you lucked out big time.
I brought it back, and so then I was able to do it. But had they just again serviced it better, and I bought the Jeep had just 80,000 miles on it, so it wasn't. But I'm always big on getting fluids changed. So, but Kaylee's Jeep at 130,000 miles, even though we got her serviced all the time, her transmission went, and local shop that we trusted, a transmission shop, rebuilt it for $2,400. So I thought that was a good deal.
Yeah, you can find deals out there. You just got to shop for them.
Yes.
Another thing is like a check engine light will come on for your transmission, especially in the newer vehicles.
Yes.
So you just get a reader and find out what is causing your idiot lights to come on.
Yes.
As we call them. And it's not meaning that you're an idiot or anything. It's just the term that we use. And you look and see what that code is, and that code will tell you a lot of times what is wrong, what part of the transmission or what part of the motor, or this is not right or that's not right. So it's good to investigate and invest in that diagnostic tool. You can get them for $100-$150. It's well worth it in the long run, because now you don't have to worry about trying to get to a shop to have them read it and see what's up. So yeah, if you get a check engine light, by all means have the code read and figure out what it is. The other thing is you might, as we talked a little bit earlier, as I'd said, that you may smell a burnt smell.
Yes.
And two is if you're checking your transmission fluid, you pull it out, you'll smell it.
And the other thing is I use a paper towel or a napkin, something light colored, and then I wipe the dipstick.
Yes.
So what I'm looking for is the color, the smell, but also is there metal at the end of the dipstick? Because some of the dipsticks
they have magnets.
Magnets on it.
Yes.
So if you find metal shavings or a lot of metal, okay, it's time to get it serviced before it gets bad.
That's even with your rear ends and your oil pans. I mean, you'll have the magnets on the fill sites and the drain sites, and it'll tell you if there's something actually going on in there. Some of the other signs could be grinding, jerking, or shaking whenever you're putting it in gear.
Yep.
Also, let's see here, refusal to go in gear. Now that could be a couple of different things. That could be the gear mesh inside the transmission is now, as I call it, foobarred, to where it won't go in, or it could be the linkage of your shifter, or the linkage that goes from your clutch pedal to the master slave that goes to your clutch, or it could be just the gears inside the transmission on a standard.
Or you parked on a hill, put it in park on a hill, and then set the parking brake before you took your foot off your foot brake. So then the weight of the vehicle will lock on the parking paw, the parking gear.
Right.
So then you can't get it out without either somebody pushing you or using your wrench to pull that pressure off your Jeep.
So what's the best way? Then we'll go to parking brake when you're on a hill.
So when you stop, and it's like Hard Rock's a place where I do that a lot because we don't have a whole lot of hills in Florida. So at Hard Rock, we call it locking your vehicle down. So then you're parked at an incline, you stop, all right? You set the parking brake. You take your foot off your brake to make sure it's holding, and then you can put it in the park.
Okay.
If it doesn't roll, you're good. Now, if you have a vehicle where that doesn't work, then the other option is you've got to have somebody, a partner, come and chalk your tires.
Without a doubt.
With a wood chalk, or like I use my high lift jack, the base mount. So if I have to chalk my tires, I stop, I hold it, I'll call a partner up on my radio, okay, come on up because my brake won't be holding. And, you know, some of the JKs, the early JKs, don't have the best parking brake. They need adjustments. They need everything else. Where now they've gotten better.
Mine is like,
yeah, or you got to pull it all the way up, and there's a ways to adjust it. But so then don't park on an incline, you know, and do that because you put all that weight on that parking paw, and again you're not either a buddy's got to come up front or back and take that pressure off, or you've got to use your winch to take the pressure off.
yes.
So that's one of the things. Or we have this little plastic piece. If this little plastic piece fails, either in your transfer case or on your automatic shifter transmission, this little plastic piece, you won't go anywhere. I can't throw it to you. I'll lose it.
Sure you can.
See, I just thought, there it goes. I carry both of these in my Jeep, and I've had my transfer case one go, and I've had my transmission one go. And the transfer case one is actually a little easier to fix in the field. And once the engine cools down and everything, you can pop it on, pop it off. But the automatic transmission one, the one there, it depends on where it comes off. So I had to get mine towed to the dealer, and the dealer was out of those little plastic pieces. And I'm like, I got it. And actually, I was up at Tallahassee getting ready to do
MacGyver. He's got stuff.
This is a thing that's a point of failure. So I was up checking trails for doing a job for the state. We're at their training center, and my Jeep did it. So luckily, the little Jeep dealer right down the road, which was a good guy, he goes, look, I'm backed up. I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. You know, and he sees me pulling up in the FWC trucks, pulling up to pick me up. And he's like, what did you do? I'm like, I teach for him. I got a class coming up. This just broke. And so he went one of the mechanics, and one of the mechanics stayed that night to fix my Jeep because you have to pull the console apart.
Yeah.
Some people can, just finagle it and do it. But, they did it right. They pulled it apart. They put the piece on. And when they got opened up at 7 o'clock, my Jeep was ready for me. And so it was really nice that they did that. But had I not had the parts, he didn't have them. And the one in Tallahassee Central, the main one, didn't have them either because they just sometimes sell out.
Oh. So he worked all night long.
It took him an hour and a half.
Oh, hour and a half.
So I had to pay for it. And I was like, no, the guy didn't mind. He goes, no, I'll help these guys out.
Well,
they're right down the road from us. Blah, blah, blah. It was good working relationships with people. And the guy actually stayed after hours because they were booked. He goes, I'm booked for 3 days. He goes, the earliest I can get to you is in 3 days. And it was just nice that he actually talked to one of the mechanics and goes up.
Yeah, these are hard plastic pieces that, the heat that we generate off the Jeeps will just cook them.
Yes.
And they get brittle, and that's how they
And they're sacrificial for a reason so that so people don't break the transfer case or don't break your transmission from forcing it into gear, which I don't know how you could. I just don't understand. So again, it's designed to break. I guess people can do it, but
so I was just showing for those who are watching on YouTube. I was showing what you tossed to me, these plastic pieces.
Yep.
So those who are listening, you can go to the YouTube channel, and I'm sure you're going to put it on Facebook. Take a photo of put it on the Off-Road Toolbox Facebook page.
And even AutoZone, everybody else, they sell the Dorman brand. So that if I had to in a pinch, but I carry those two are in my glove box always. I had 4. I've already used 2, but I carry them. And now I've learned ways to using wire. I wouldn't use zip ties. I would use wire.
You have to use baling wire.
Yep. Baling, exactly, because otherwise the zip ties will melt. But if you
guys are really, so is this something you can't do this stuff when you're on a trail ride?
I did it in St. Augustine. I broke down on the beach, St. Augustine Beach.
Okay.
My transfer case one went, and I'm like, oh, geez, So we waited for it to cool down. We checked good old YouTube, and I found one. I'm like, okay, this one makes sense. This one looks safe. And then, I got up underneath it when it cooled, put my gloves on, able to click it into two-wheel drive. And then again drove it to that dealership there, and they were able to get me in, and that was an easy one. But that one can be, now that I know what I'm doing, I could have just pulled off the old one, put this one on, put the shifter cable back on him, and gone in 20 minutes.
Yep. I've done it on the trail. It's not fun.
Actually, on one of our rides we did it in the early days. Somebody else's broke, and
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So not a TJ though, right? JK's.
It was a JK.
It was JK.
Yeah. I don't even know. Does TJ even have? I don't know what TJ's have.
TJs don't break.
TJ has the Z lever.
Okay.
At least on mine is Z lever. I got rid of that and put a cable in
Okay.
because
There are people who replace it, yep.
The Z's lock up and all that. That's what
There are people, and I've looked at, if it ever goes again, think about getting a better shifter cable put in that's a permanent fix versus, because I'm not going to break my stuff.
No.
If it doesn't go into gear, it's one of two things. Again, what is it?
Exactly. Another thing is overdriving. You can be overdriving the transmission. That would mean bigger tires.
Yes.
A lot of weight that you're adding onto this transmission, expecting it to do above the stock.
And not reprogramming.
Not reprogramming, all kinds of things. So if you're doing an upgrade on the tires and whatnot, think about programming your automatic transmissions for it. Standard's not so much because you're going to do gear changes.
Yes.
So another thing could be noisy transmission and neutral. This is more so in the standard.
Yes.
Chattering?
Yep.
You take the TJs, I will say for sure that if you take the foot off the clutch, you'll hear it chattering back and forth because it's a plastic throwout bearing.
Okay.
It's not metal. So if you're doing a transfer case or anything like that and you're pulling that transmission off, go ahead and switch out to a metal throwout bearing, which you'll love me for it. A little bit more expensive, but well worth it.
Yes.
And I think that's about it. Is it not? Or is there more?
Let's talk about how often do you get yours serviced?
I follow the manufacturer service on the JT.
Okay.
There's two schools of thoughts on transmissions. I know that, right?
And what
servicing? Well, number one, some don't like to do any servicing on a
this is
transmission because they figure if it's not broke, don't fix it,
right?
Kind of thing.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's the other ones that you service them every 80,000 miles, 40,000 miles, whatever they recommend.
Yeah.
So if I do a lot of courses where I'm off a lot, I do it every 18 months. You just
change it.
I just have them go in and change and service it.
And that way you know if there's anything going wrong.
I know early enough and so it's paid off since. I've got 207,000 miles on it. And so the transmission I got replaced was at 80,000 miles. So look at how far I've got it by just doing fluid changes, filter change, keeping it serviced.
That's even like Kurt and Schar's salt shaker. I mean, look at how many miles that thing's got on it.
I will say that I had mine serviced once, the transmission. And since they did that, I heard this whine all the time. Just every once in a while I hear this. It happens a lot though. So I said to the mechanic, I said, "What did you do?"
Or it sounds better than what you thought it was.
Well,
I know what you're talking about. I know the transmission one. Yes.
Yeah. So it still does it.
Yes.
But so far, it was years ago. So it's knock on wood. Everything hopefully is all right. But that's why I'm thinking, do you really want to change the fluid? It wasn't. I just figured I'd do it because what needs to get done, kind of thing.
Well, the thing
and
is,
I'm almost regretting it. The time I did.
The thing is too is it all depends on how much you use it and how you use it. If you're off-roading every weekend with it,
well, that's okay. Now it's different.
But if you're just driving around town,
right,
not so much.
Right.
So,
once in a while I'd go off-roading. Obviously, I did over the years, but
just in general.
Okay.
So what I would probably do is on my next service, I would get one of those additives put into it and see if that additive will make that whine go away.
Okay. All right.
That's something to think about because there's some of these new additives for transmissions.
AMSOIL.
AMSOIL, Lucas, AMSOIL. There's a bunch of Okay.
That's what I would do. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
is that it?
It's up to you guys.
I'm good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to do that?
We want to do one, we got 3 of them today. We got 3 tools of the day.
You got 3, but
we're going to do one.
Pick one.
We're going to do one.
All right. Meeny, miny, mo.
Hey, you see that idiot?
What the hell are you doing?
What are you doing?
What you think you're doing, you stupid idiot?
It's the Off-Road Toolbox Tool of the Day.
Are you some kind of moron?
We'll do the Tesla truck.
Okay, cool.
Spaceship.
Just because you have an electric vehicle and it's all-wheel drive and some of them are very capable, but if you go onto soft sand like St. Augustine Beach area or Volano Beach area and it's in super soft sand and you haven't aired down, you can have everything you want. You're going to get stuck. And then, do you have the recovery points on those vehicles?
I didn't even think about that on those.
Are there?
I don't know. I have never looked at one that close to see where's the recovery points.
There's got to be. I mean,
They
there's no
probably
reason.
had the tie downs that you would have to have the
The
special
keys.
key.
You have to have those keys to do for the tie down, but those are
They're not rated for yanking on.
so
more
I would do a
downforce.
slow recovery, and the one where the guy got stuck. And a lot of people, if you just when you start to get stuck, stop for a second and do an assessment. So can I use traction boards, or can I just dig out and back out and get out?
I don't think that he had traction boards.
No, I don't think he had anything, and so they'll just bury it down to the
Yep.
frame. So that's again, don't do that.
You're on the frame. You got the weight
Don't
of
do
the
that.
batteries.
Yes.
Yes. No.
So is a electric vehicle heavier than a regular vehicle?
Yes,
Yes.
with
A
the
little-
batteries, just a little bit.
So again, think about things. Look at the sand, and if you have these skinny sidewall tires, stay on the road. If you can't air down, especially if you're going to go on really soft, like our beaches can be super soft. Well, they used to race on it, or they're super soft.
Yep.
So you can have the fine sugar sand, or you can have red shell. And red shell, if you don't know, it's all the shell mixed in and looks really red. And you can drive through it and you'll bottom out because there's just nothing underneath it.
It's a loose pack.
Yes. Yes. So even with your new EV vehicle, and it happens to everybody, we've seen it every weekend here. Like you said, the Santo people.
Santo, yeah.
They can go out there and see it. So make sure you have recovery points, you have things, you have a shovel, or just don't go on the beach if you don't have it.
So what happened?
They had to get recovered, and I don't know.
Did any update on the recall? How they do? I mean, how they?
It was posted on the SOS page, and it showed him stuck, but it didn't have enough follow up.
Okay.
How they got out and
that
what they had to
happens.
go through.
And that happens sometimes.
Sometimes I'll send them an email like, "Hey, can you tell me how it ended up and what you had to do?" And some of them respond, and other ones don't.
Okay,
Other ones are too embarrassed.
that's probably what it was.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that was it.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you listening in or viewing us on YouTube. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
And there you have it. Don't you feel smarter now? We'll drop more knowledge on you soon. Thanks for listening to the Off-Road Toolbox. Powered by Best Price Trailers.